Good morning, everyone. Okay, call to order the Personnel Board meeting here at 10:04. Looks like we have everybody in attendance that's currently on the board. So we will move to the approval of the minutes from the February 14th meeting. I would entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion, any changes? Hearing none. All in favor of accepting the minutes as written, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We will move on to holiday pay language review. I'll let you guys key us up a little bit here, and then we'll get into it.
Thank you. There are a few items within that umbrella, or under that umbrella of holiday pay language. At your place, you have Article 4, which spelled out as hours of work and leave, and that's what we're going to be talking about at this point. So I can just run. You want me to just run through?
Yeah, just real quick.
Okay, just real quick. I know this first part you guys talked about. You guys, I mean this board, last I don't know, early summer of 2024 maybe. So
Yes.
this shouldn't be a surprise here. So removing where it says President's Day - floating holiday, there is no President's Day anymore. It is a floating holiday, so it's a little confusing for some staff. So we're just updating that to make sure it says floating holiday. Below that, again, when it refers to President's Day, just removing that because it's a floating holiday. Being a little bit clearer as far as when the holiday falls on a Sunday, when it's observed, if it falls on a Saturday, Monday versus a Friday when it's observed. Second page there, number 2, this is a little, we had to work at this a little bit to get this to read right, but essentially it was making sure that we had 8 hours of holiday pay for everybody, which totals 104 hours worth of holiday pay, versus if someone's working a 12-hour schedule or a 10-hour schedule, they would actually get more hours of holiday pay, so we wanted to be consistent with that. We've also tried to be consistent across the board with our collective bargaining agreements and updating it in there as well, to say if you are working a 10-hour day, then you get 8 hours of holiday pay. If you want to make up the other 2 hours at some other point during the pay period, you can work that out with your supervisor, or you can use a couple hours of vacation or personal business leave. Again, kind of cleaning up some verbiage here for the rest of this page. The next page at the top, which I believe would be under Q, special work schedules. This was one we had discussed a few months ago as well, being a little bit clearer on how payroll is set up and when you get paid holiday pay and when you do not. So we had some problems, some issues where, let's say there was someone working a Tuesday through Saturday schedule. The holiday fell on the Monday. They would get the 8 hours of holiday pay for that Monday, but it doesn't count towards their overtime accrual. So this clears that up. I feel like this clears that up, make it more obvious to the employee reading through this. We do have some departments and divisions that decide, if Monday is the holiday and they work a Tuesday through Saturday schedule, they'll give them a day off to be their observed holiday that week. That's really the norm we've found. So this really only affects just a handful of folks that work those schedules. So with that,
Is that all on?
well, yeah, the next page under Article 5, this was just cleaning up this section to make sure it refers back to the Article 4, so we were consistent. So I believe that should take care of the first 2 bullets,
Okay,
the holiday pay language and the observed holidays language update.
okay.
So I'll take any questions if you have any on those.
Any discussion on those items? All right. Okay, so just kind of a reminder as far as our process goes, because people are newer. So what we'll do now is, for these 2 items, and this is all under Article 4, right? So
Correct.
we can make it, I can make the motion as,
Well, there's one
that's
little-
is on 5.
Yeah,
Okay.
just that little tiny section there.
Okay. So what we do now is if we're comfortable with the language, we've seen it, we've asked our questions, we don't see anything else that needs to be changed, then what we will do, and I'll make a motion to move this to the city council for move this to a public hearing for consideration, which means we open it up and, employees can come and hear and listen if they want to. Then once that process happens and we approve there, after that, then it moves to city council for consideration. So what I'm going to do now is I make a motion, and Lindsay will help me if I get my words. You'll get my words for me. I make a motion to move items under Article 4 and Article 5 that we've just considered, move those forward to a public hearing. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of moving him, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None? Very good. We'll move those forward to a public hearing. Next up.
Okay. Next, we have the hours of work and leave again in Article 4, but a different issue, different topic here. This group had discussed this idea a few months ago. So to give you some background, we currently, if we have a new employee, or when we have a new employee, they begin accruing sick leave immediately. However, they cannot use it until after the 6-month probationary period. We feel that front-loading 6 months worth of sick leave, which is equivalent of 48 hours, is appropriate. We think it's better for the employee. It's better for us to not have a sick employee to come into the office, or if they have a dependent that they're taking care of, to send that dependent to daycare or school. So we think this is a good thing. There's really no adverse issue or adverse impact to the city. We don't pay out any sick leave if it's been accrued. We're still, if the supervisor feels like this employee may be abusing the 48 hours that we front load, i.e. they take 48 hours, the first 48 hours they're supposed to work, they still have the ability to terminate because this person is still under their 6-month probationary period. So we think it's a good thing for the employees. We think it's good for the city as well. We can read that to you here. It says, new full-time employees will be credited 48 hours of sick leave on their first day of employment. New part-time employees will be credited the prorate sick leave that reflects the number of hours anticipated to work during their initial probationary period. And then we updated the rest of the verbiage in here. One additional item down on number 2, we updated that to include healthcare appointment or visit. We had various departments, some allowing sick leave for that, some requiring vacation for that. We feel it's appropriate to allow sick leave to go to a doctor's appointment. I believe that's it for that one. I'll take any questions for number 3.
The red 2 is use of sick leave credit, and then it goes to say accrued sick leave may be authorized by, and what you really mean is use of that accrued sick leave is authorized by the director or the employees department head, I mean?
Yes, and we thought about putting the use of, but we figured that could be redundant since the title was use of sick leave credit.
Okay.
We just figured use of.
That sentence makes a lot less sense
Without the heading?
without the, or using the heading in the sentence. Use of sick leave may be authorized by, use of accrued sick leave may be authorized by.
Okay.
So you're just recommending adding the word use at the first?
Use of.
Use of accrued sick leave may be
Yeah,
authorized by?
I think it would
Okay, you can do that.
make it clearer.
You're right, if you took it away from the heading, it would be a little confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. Any other discussion on that?
I have a question. Excuse me. I noticed that there's nothing regarding documentation. If you have an employee that may be suspected of abusing it, but they can provide the documentation or have provided documentation, is that something that maybe should be considered to be included in the use of the sick leave?
That's in a different section within Article 4.
Okay.
It does discuss that.
And it applies to the sick leave?
Yes, yeah, we
Okay.
just decided, we just didn't include all of it, but yeah, it's currently in there that you can request a doctor's, essentially a doctor's note or proof verification that they were using the sick leave appropriately. I believe it's at any time, but I have to find
I
it.
wonder, I just wonder if it should be referenced here. If I'm an employee and I'm looking to use my sick leave, I'm going to look at this policy, and I may not reference back, or know to reference back to that.
And
At the risk of being redundant.
It's right
Oh, is it
below
on the same page?
Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
was looking to see exactly
Okay.
how close it was, but it's the next, basically the next paragraph down.
This is 2 and it's on 3.
okay,
It's page
Okay.
18, page 18. 19, well, on the copy we just got this morning, or earlier this morning.
No, I would agree with you for sure if it wasn't right below it, but if it was on
Yeah.
another page, we definitely would want to make reference to it.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
this article is a long article. There's a lot covered
Really
in there.
long one.
Okay, any further discussion on just this sick leave portion? Hearing none, I will make a motion to move the changes as noted under Article 4, Section F, forward for a public hearing. Can I get a second?
I second that.
Very good. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, moving along, still in Article 4, this was one we discussed as a group a few months ago as well. This was just cleaning up our current language for extended leave requests. It was a little complicated whether you have leave time or not. The process folks were supposed to go through to get additional time. So we cleaned it up to say, essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, but to make it, you can request extended leave. If you have leave time, you'll get paid for it. If you don't, you don't. And that's essentially what this is here. So there's no change in the maximum that can be requested. It's still up to 1 year, and that's up to city manager approval, depending on the situation. You can request after use of FMLA or not even related to FMLA for whatever personal reason there is. And again, that's why we wanted to clean this up, is everything was tied to FMLA before, where there are certain situations where an extended leave has been requested and it's not related to an FMLA. So, take any questions on this?
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to move this forward for a public hearing.
I second that.
Very good. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Not in Article 4, for once. Article 6, separation and disciplinary action. I'll talk about both number 5 and 6 here, since it's in this section. So this was, I believe this was also one from last summer that this board had approved. We've made a few minor changes to it. Nothing, I believe, on this first page from before. It's basically just updating how a termination is conducted, who has to approve it, the process, that the human resources has to sign off on it, city manager has to sign off on it ultimately, which is on the second page. City manager shall make the final determination on the matter, which is something that the city had already unofficially been doing. Of course, we're going to consult with the city manager before terminating someone that's not on probation. So that was all an update there. The transition compensation, also known as severance packages, was cleaned up. It was a lot of unnecessary explanation of how it works and what it is. So in the middle of that second page there, unclassified employees who have completed 1 year of employment are terminated without cause are eligible for the following transition compensation. And then it goes down below and it bases it on the years of service, how much severance or transition compensation that individual will receive.
Mike, could I interject a
Sure.
point there, just for understanding with the group? Unclassified employees is a specific list of employees as defined, I believe, by the charter, or at least is defined
Right.
here. So this is not everyone. These would be your non-represented employees, these would be your hourly employees, your city attorney and things like that. So this is not for everyone, this is for that specific group. And as we have always had in the policies, that if there's any contract, say a contract with, I presume the city manager has a contract, is that, for employment, those obviously would supersede this. So just for
Right.
understanding.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
The new addition to this, which would be number 6 on the old business here. Under service probation, we have added in, employees are not eligible to transfer or promotion while on service probation. So service probation is disciplinary probation. The only caveat I would add here is if we have a collective bargaining agreement with one of our unions, that would trump what we say here. So that is something that is often bargained when an employee can be promoted or transferred. So we thought this was important to have in there. We've had a few that, we're on disciplinary probation for some significant reasons and wanted to just jump ship and move over to another department. And I know we discussed this last time. So it's not going to be permitted. However, as soon as that person comes off probation, if they successfully complete the probation, then they can move on to the next department or next position, I should say, could be within the same department. So, take any questions on this?
Seeing no discussion, I will make a motion to move this forward for a public hearing.
Second.
Okay, very good. No further discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. So, looks like we are now on to new business, correct?
Looks like.
All right, very good. I'll let you guys let us know.
So I wasn't here last time, so I'm not exactly sure what was discussed on the CDL, the update, but I'll kind of give you an overview. So, last week, was it last week? Yeah, it was last week. Last week, we had a company come in, Tomo Drug Testing out of Springfield, and do some training for our CDL drivers and our supervisors that supervise, and managers, supervise CDL drivers. We had a kind of a comprehensive overall, this is how the drug testing is going to work, this is how it's required to work by Department of Transportation, and then a separate one for the supervisors to understand how reasonable cause works, what you should be looking for, and what would allow you to send someone in. The city stopped doing our CDL random testing, drug testing, for what we can see about 5 years ago. While as a municipality, we are not subject to most of what is listed in the DOT CDL requirements. Drug testing is one that we are required to do, and we have not been doing it the right way. So we decided to have this kind of a catch-all training to bring everyone up to speed that this is how we're going to proceed moving on. The first couple of weeks of June, we're going to be doing a baseline testing, retesting for everyone, utilizing the Department of Transportation sanction test. And then starting the first quarter of, after July 1st, first quarter of this next fiscal year, we're going to begin our random testing that we should have been doing all along. With that comes a requirement, of course, to have a policy and a drug and alcohol policy specific for DOT CDL drivers. We worked with a company, again, it was Tomo who we worked with, and they had a third party to assist. We are really close, I would say 95% done with having that. There's not a whole lot we can do. It's not a lot up for discussion. It's a requirement. It's a template, essentially, that they take from DOT to ensure that we're in compliance. So there's not a lot of wiggle room for us to say, hey, let's move this, let's not do this. The idea is that's going to become part of our personnel policies procedure manual ultimately when we update the rest of our drug and alcohol policy. For now, because we need to have this immediately before we can start testing and bring us back into compliance, we intend to make that an administrative policy so we have it set. But we're going to integrate that into the PPM once we update the rest of our drug and alcohol policy, which we discussed before is going to be related to safety-sensitive and non-safety-sensitive positions. Obviously, someone driving a large vehicle, a CDL driver, that would fall into the safety-sensitive. But there's more stipulations because it is a CDL, because a driver, because it is federally regulated. So it's like a subsection of the safety-minded folks. So we will share that administrative policy once we're done. Again, we are a couple of weeks away at that, probably a week or so, just from having it completely updated. It's going to be, when I say completely updated, it'll probably be a little bit of a work in progress over the next month, 2 months, as we bring ourselves back into compliance. But so that's where we're at right now with the CDL.
Do I interpret what you said correctly, that the company that did your training last week is the one who's going to perform the testing?
Correct.
And what's the name of that?
TOMO, T-O-M-O, drug testing.
Thank you.
So in years past, well, let me back up. Years ago, 5+ years ago, when the city was conducting the random testing, the process was to, of course, alert them first thing in the morning. Supervisor gets a hold of said individuals, or the supervisor themselves, if they were required to be tested, then their manager would have to drive them down. Get everybody together, you drive down to Concentra, you spend 3 or 4 hours in a line, not very efficient. So what we've chosen to do with TOMO is to bring them out to on site. So we're going to, depending on what group is going to be tested, so for IPL, for example, we will have TOMO come to the service center on site. It's way more efficient. In and out, they can do the drug testing and not have to delay any work that's going. I mean, obviously it'll be delayed a little bit, but not 3 or 4 hours like it had been done in the past. So it's slightly more expensive, but we feel the productivity for the employee is going to be way better, be increased significantly. So, and then when we do the baseline testing, starting next month, early June, same thing. We're going to bring them on site and have test everyone over the course of a few days. Obviously, we're not going to be able to test about 200 people in a matter of 2 hours. So it'll be the course over a week or so.
I have a question. So
Sure.
have you been testing?
So we test all new hires.
Okay,
Unfortunately,
no random.
no random, and additionally for the new hires, whether they are CDL required employee or not, we have not been using the DOT sanctioned test. So we have to use that for the CDL drivers.
And are you going to let employees know that you're going to start testing in June, baseline test?
Yes, that was the point of the training last week. It's only for CDL drivers that we're doing a baseline test, and only for them that we're doing the randoms, because that's federally mandated.
When you say training, are you talking about the employee themselves that are subject to testing?
Yes, that was last week.
Okay.
So we had anyone that has a CDL that's required to hold a CDL for their position or utilizes a CDL, not required. For example, we have some people that volunteer for snow removal.
Right.
It's not required for their normal job, but they use it for snow removal. They were required to come to this training. Of course, with 200 and some odd folks, not everybody can make it, so we have a webinar that we have them go through.
Okay.
It gives an overview of why we're doing it, what the federal requirements are. It was only an hour-long training, but we wanted to make sure everyone understood why the city was doing this. We also didn't want to play gotcha. Yeah, thank you. And just all spring it on them. Say, hey, we're testing everyone right now. That's not the intent of the testing. So we let everyone know we've got about 30+ days, and then we're going to be doing the baseline, so everyone is prepared.
Perfect, that answered.
And then we begin the random in July.
Any other questions on that? I suspect it sounds like, as you indicated, this language is coming from the legal people who really understand these things. When it gets sent to us, it'll be kind of more of a point of how we incorporate it in here, as much as, not as much as, picking and choosing. Can we say 3 days or 2 days or 2 hours or whatever?
Yes.
It's more of a template, kind of similar to FMLA, where it's got to be worded a certain way. So
Yeah, and when we've gone through and I've done the updating, it hasn't been really on content necessarily. It's been more on using city instead of company or.
Right, something specific to us.
Yeah,
that
very
might be a little-
specific to independence.
Like discipline up to and including termination, very.
To make sure it still aligns with our PPM as much as it can.
Right.
And as I said before, we're going to be updating the rest of the drug and alcohol policy in the near future.
Very good. Any further discussion on that right now? All right. Anything else under new business?
I wanted to speak really quick to the PPM. You have a copy of the PPM, and I believe one was sent out earlier this week. You have the version that was sent out. Could you go to the page right after the table of contents? Page 4. So the electronic one you had sent. Okay, can you click on that? Okay. So the electronic one you had sent does contain everything, just to make sure that you understand the paper copy that's printed. These are minimized right under Article 1. All of those items listed under Article 1. On the electronic copy that was sent to you, you can click on it and it will open up. It'll maximize so you can read each section, but the paper copy, it by default minimized it. So just as an FYI. Noticed that when I looked through it a little bit ago. Yeah, just a formatting issue, but just so you're sure, if you're using the paper copy that's handed as your official version, remember that Article 1 is not expanded, so you'd have to go back to the electronic copy. Take a look at that.
Thank you for getting that updated for us for those changes that were approved. And thank you for printing out so we can see a lot of it here. I would also say too that a large part of that section where you're talking about the click and, open, a lot of those things we have recently looked at in the past couple of years, so I don't anticipate as much in there. If we find something, of course we do, but a lot of that we have already been through in that deep dive. So thank you for printing that out and emailing for us. Anything else, Mike?
That's it. Do you have anything?
Nope.
Lindsay?
Okay.
Just when scheduling the meeting, clarify that the public hearing is at the next meeting, if that's.
Yeah. So what I'd like us to do, first, let me ask the question, Mike. Would you like to try, to see, depending on people's calendar, so what we have to do for a public hearing, we have to give 10 days notice. They send out that to all employees, indicating here's the changes, here's the meeting, you're willing to come, those kind of things. Would you like us to try to schedule something ahead of the June meeting for the public hearing, or are you okay with us waiting until the next meeting, which we can have the public hearing first and then meet? We can do both in the same meeting time.
I think that would probably be
That's easier?
best, yeah.
Okay.
And that's 13th of June.
Yeah, so if everybody can look at their calendar, make sure, because we will definitely need a quorum on that day, because we'll be voting to move those forward. So just want to make sure everybody's got June 13th, 10 a.m. right here on their calendar. Everybody good? Okay. Very good. Thank you all. And if there's no new business, and we've scheduled our next meeting, I would make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Steve, we're done. Thank you.